Today, we're diving into the gritty and fascinating world of the Old West with a video you won't want to miss. 6 shocking deaths of Old West heroes you didn't know about. These tales of legendary figures meeting unexpected and dramatic ends will leave you stunned and wanting more. From infamous gunfighters to iconic outlaws, their deaths are as riveting as their lives. Make sure to watch till the end to uncover the mysteries and betrayals that history books often gloss over. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more incredible stories from the Wild West. Let's get started. Number 1. Wild Bill Hickok. James Butler. Hickok, known famously as Wild Bill Hickok, is one of the most iconic figures of the American Old West. Born on May 27, 1837, in Homer, Illinois, Hickok's life was a tapestry of daring exploits, from his days as a Union soldier in the Civil War to his career as a lawman and a gunslinger. His prowess with firearms and his larger-than-life personality earned him legendary status, immortalizing him as a quintessential Western hero. Hickok's reputation as a formidable gunslinger was well-deserved. Stories of his gunfights and adventures spread far and wide, contributing to his legend. He served as a lawman in various capacities, including as a marshal in Hays City and Abilene, Kansas. His ability to maintain order in these rough towns through sheer force of personality and expert marksmanship made him a celebrated figure. However, it was not just his skill with a gun that made Hickok famous. It was also his demeanor and sense of justice. He was known for his calm under pressure and his unwavering resolve to uphold the law, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Despite his many exploits, Hickok's life was also marked by tragedy and controversy. His eyesight began to fail him in the 1870s, affecting his ability to perform as a gunfighter and lawman. Seeking a new direction, Hickok joined Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show, where he performed as a marksman. However, his declining health and the changing times meant that Hickok's days of glory were numbered. The end of Hickok's life came in a manner as dramatic as the life he had led. On August 2, 1876, while playing poker at Nuttall and Mann's Saloon in Deadwood, Dakota Territory, Hickok was shot in the back of the head by Jack McCall, a disgruntled gambler. Hickok's usual seat in the saloon, with his back to the wall, was occupied, forcing him to sit with his back exposed. McCall, who had lost heavily the previous day to Hickok, walked up behind him and fired a fatal shot without warning. The murder of Wild Bill Hickok sent shockwaves through the frontier community. McCall's motive was believed to be revenge for his losses at the poker table, though some speculate that he may have been paid to kill Hickok. McCall was initially acquitted of the murder in a minor's court, but he was later retried, found guilty, and hanged for the crime in March 1877. Hickok was holding a pair of aces and a pair of eights when he was shot, a hand that has since become known as the dead man's hand. His death marked the end of an era and cemented his place in Western lore. Hickok was buried in Deadwood, and his grave remains a site of interest for historians and enthusiasts of the Old West. Wild Bill Hickok's life and death encapsulate the spirit of the American frontier, bold, adventurous, and often dangerous. His legacy continues to be celebrated in literature, film, and folklore, reminding us of a time when the line between lawman and outlaw was often blurred, and survival depended on one's wits and skill with a gun. Number 2. Doc Holliday. John Henry Doc Holliday, born on August 14, 1851, in Griffin, Georgia, is one of the most enigmatic and colorful characters of the American Old West. Trained as a dentist, Holliday's life took a dramatic turn as he became a gambler and gunfighter, renowned for his involvement in some of the most famous events of the Western frontier, including the legendary gunfight at the OK Corral. Holliday's early life seemed destined for a respectable career. He attended the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery and graduated in 1872. After obtaining his degree, Holliday started practicing dentistry in Atlanta, Georgia. However, his promising career was cut short when he was diagnosed with tuberculosis, a common and deadly disease at the time. Seeking a drier climate to alleviate his symptoms, Holliday moved west, which inadvertently set him on the path to becoming a notorious figure of the Old West. The move westward marked the beginning of Holliday's transformation. Unable to sustain a steady dental practice due to his worsening health, he turned to gambling, a popular and often dangerous profession in the rough towns of the frontier. Holliday quickly gained a reputation as a skilled card player and a deadly gunfighter, traits that earned him both friends and enemies. One of Holliday's most significant friendships was with Wyatt Earp, a relationship that would become legendary in Western folklore. The two met in Texas and formed a close bond, often traveling and working together. Their friendship played a crucial role in the events leading up to the gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. The gunfight at the OK Corral occurred on October 26, 1881, and is one of the most famous shootouts in Western history. The conflict involved Holliday, the Earp brothers, Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan, and members of the Clanton and McClory families, who were part of a loosely organized group of outlaws known as the Cowboys. The gunfight lasted only about 30 seconds, but had a lasting impact on the legacy of the participants. Holliday's role in the shootout solidified his reputation as a fearless and lethal gunslinger. Despite his numerous confrontations and perilous lifestyle, it was not a bullet that claimed Holliday's life, but rather the disease he had been battling for years. As his tuberculosis worsened, Holliday sought treatment in the Glenwood Springs, Colorado sanatorium, a far cry from the violent settings that had defined much of his life. On November 8, 1887, at the age of 36, Doc Holliday succumbed to his illness. His final days were spent in relative peace, a stark contrast to the turbulent and dangerous life he had led. Holliday's death surprised many who had expected him to meet a more violent end. His life story, marked by dramatic shifts from a professional dentist to a feared gunfighter, embodies the wild and unpredictable nature of the American frontier. Despite his brief life, Holliday's legacy endures through countless books, films, and stories that continue to captivate the imagination of those fascinated by the Old West. Number 3. Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid, born Henry McCarty on November 23, 1859, in New York City, is one of the most infamous outlaws of the American Old West. His short life, marked by a rapid descent into crime and violence, has become the stuff of legend, and his death at the age of 21 remains one of the most talked about events in Western history. McCarty's early life was challenging. After his father died or disappeared, his mother moved the family west, eventually settling in Silver City, New Mexico. Following his mother's death from tuberculosis in 1874, the young McCarty was left to fend for himself. He quickly fell into petty crime, stealing food and clothes to survive. His first arrest came at the age of 16 for stealing food, and shortly after, he was caught stealing clothing and firearms. However, it was his escape from jail and subsequent life on the run that began his transformation into the notorious Billy the Kid. Billy's involvement in the Lincoln County War, a violent conflict between rival factions in New Mexico, cemented his reputation as an outlaw. The war began as a struggle over control of the dry goods trade and cattle business in Lincoln County. Billy joined the Regulators, a group of ranchers and cowboys who fought against the established, corrupt businessmen known as the House. During this conflict, Billy participated in several gunfights and killings, including the murder of Sheriff William J. Brady, which marked him as a target for law enforcement. Despite his notoriety, Billy was known for his charisma and was often described as polite and friendly. His charm and youthful appearance belied the deadly threat he posed. According to legend, he killed 21 men, one for each year of his life, though historical records suggest the actual number was likely lower. Billy's life of crime led him into numerous confrontations with the law. In December 1880, he was captured by Sheriff Pat Garrett, a former friend turned nemesis. Billy was tried and convicted of the murder of Sheriff Brady and sentenced to hang. However, in a daring escape from the Lincoln County Courthouse in April 1881, he killed 2 guards and fled, once again becoming a fugitive. Billy's final days were spent in hiding, but Sheriff Garrett was relentless in his pursuit. On July 14, 1881, Garrett tracked Billy to a ranch in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Entering the darkened house of Pete Maxwell, Garrett waited in Maxwell's bedroom. When Billy unexpectedly entered the room, Garrett shot him, killing him instantly. The suddenness and controversy of his death added to Billy's legend, with some even claiming he survived and lived under an alias. The story of Billy the Kid continues to captivate the imagination of historians and the public alike. His life, filled with violence, charm, and rebellion against authority, embodies the wild spirit of the American frontier. Films, books, and songs have kept his legend alive, ensuring that the tale of Billy the Kid endures as one of the most compelling stories of the Old West. Number 4. Jesse James. Jesse Woodson. James, born on September 5, 1847 in Clay County, Missouri, is one of the most notorious outlaws in American history. As the leader of the James Younger Gang, he became a symbol of rebellion against the post-Civil War establishment and a figure of folklore. His life of crime, daring escapades, and eventual betrayal have cemented his legacy in the annals of the Wild West. James grew up in a region deeply affected by the Civil War. His family was Confederate sympathizers, and Jesse, along with his older brother Frank, joined the Confederate guerrillas known as bushwhackers. These groups conducted brutal raids against Union forces and their supporters, engaging in guerrilla warfare tactics that were marked by their brutality and lack of conventional military decorum. This violent environment shaped Jesse's outlook and methods. After the war, Missouri was rife with economic hardship and political tension, providing fertile ground for outlaws. Jesse and Frank initially joined a gang led by Archie Clement, another former Confederate guerrilla. This group targeted banks and businesses they associated with Union sympathizers and Northern interests. By 1866, the James brothers had struck out on their own, forming the James Younger Gang with Cole Younger and his brothers. The gang quickly gained notoriety for their daring bank and train robberies. Their first major heist was the robbery of the Clay County Savings Bank in Liberty, Missouri in 1866, which is considered one of the first daylight bank robberies in the United States. Jesse's charisma and flair for the dramatic, coupled with his penchant for violence, made him the face of the gang. He cultivated a Robin Hood image, portraying himself as a defender of the common folk against the wealthy elite, although there is little evidence to support this myth. Despite their initial success, the James Younger Gang faced increasing pressure from law enforcement and private detectives, most notably the Pinkerton National Detective Agency. A botched raid in Northfield, Minnesota, in 1876 resulted in the capture and imprisonment of the Younger brothers and marked the beginning of the gang's decline. Jesse and Frank, however, managed to escape and lay low for several years. Jesse attempted to live a quieter life, but he could not stay away from crime for long. He formed a new gang and resumed his outlaw activities. By this time, he had grown increasingly paranoid and distrustful, aware that betrayal could come from anywhere. This paranoia was justified when Robert Ford, a member of his new gang, betrayed him. On April 3, 1882, in St. Joseph, Missouri, Jesse James was killed by Robert Ford. James was adjusting a picture on the wall of his home when Ford shot him in the back of the head. Ford and his brother Charlie had conspired with Missouri Governor Thomas T. Crittenden to kill James in exchange for a reward. The betrayal by someone James trusted made his death particularly shocking and sensational, capturing the public's imagination. Jesse James's death marked the end of an era, but his legend lived on. He became a symbol of resistance and rebellion, immortalized in songs, books, and movies. While his actions were often brutal and self-serving, the mystique surrounding his life and death continues to fascinate and inspire tales of the Wild West. Number 5. Pat Garrett. Patrick Floyd Jarvis Garrett, commonly known as Pat Garrett, was born on June 5, 1850, in Chambers County, Alabama. He is best known for his role as a lawman and the sheriff who killed the infamous outlaw, Billy the Kid. However, Garrett's own death remains shrouded in mystery, making it one of the most intriguing tales of the American Old West. Garrett's early life was marked by a series of moves with his family, ultimately settling in Texas. He ventured into various occupations, including cowboy, buffalo hunter, and rancher, before his law enforcement career began. In 1880, Garrett was elected sheriff of Lincoln County, New Mexico, primarily on the promise that he would capture Billy the Kid, who had become a notorious outlaw. Garrett's pursuit of Billy the Kid culminated on July 14, 1881, when he tracked the outlaw to a ranch in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. In a dramatic and controversial encounter, Garrett shot and killed Billy the Kid, bringing an end to the young outlaw's brief but violent career. This act solidified Garrett's reputation as a formidable lawman and earned him a place in Western lore. Despite his fame, Garrett's life after the death of Billy the Kid was far from stable. He faced various professional and financial difficulties, struggling to maintain his ranching ventures and dealing with the volatile political climate of the region. Garrett's attempts to capitalize on his fame through writing and public appearances met with limited success, leaving him perpetually in debt and searching for new opportunities. The circumstances surrounding Pat Garrett's death are as mysterious as they are contentious. On February 29, 1908, Garrett was traveling near Las Cruces, New Mexico, when he was shot and killed. The details of his murder remain unclear, and several theories have been proposed over the years. One prevalent theory is that Garrett was killed over a land dispute. He was in the process of negotiating the sale of his ranch, and it is believed that his involvement in local land politics might have made him enemies. Wayne Brazel, a ranch hand who confessed to the killing, claimed self-defense, stating that Garrett had threatened him during a disagreement. Brazel was acquitted of the charges, fueling speculation about the true motive and identity of Garrett's killer. Other theories suggest more complex motives involving political and personal vendettas. Some historians speculate that Garrett's death was orchestrated by powerful individuals who saw him as a threat to their interests. The involvement of Jesse Wayne Brazel, Carl Adamson, Garrett's companion on the day of the murder, and other local figures adds layers of intrigue to the case. The unresolved nature of Garrett's death has only added to his legend. Like many figures of the Old West, the ambiguity and speculation surrounding his demise contribute to the mythos of a man who lived and died in a time of lawlessness and rapid change. Pat Garrett's legacy is inseparably linked to his role in the death of Billy the Kid, but his own end remains a subject of enduring fascination. His life and death reflect the complexities and dangers of the American frontier, a place where the line between lawman and outlaw was often blurred, and where survival required both courage and cunning. Number 6. John Wesley Hardin. John Wesley Hardin, born on May 26, 1853 in Bonham, Texas, is remembered as one of the most notorious gunfighters of the American Old West. His life was marked by violence and lawlessness, earning him a fearsome reputation that continues to capture the imagination of those fascinated by the era. Hardin's early life set the stage for his violent career. The son of a Methodist preacher, Hardin displayed a rebellious streak from a young age. By the age of 15, he had killed his first man, a former slave, which led him to flee from the law. This incident marked the beginning of a life on the run, punctuated by frequent gunfights and brushes with the law. Hardin's life was a continuous cycle of violence, arrests, and escapes. Throughout his life, Hardin claimed to have killed 42 men, though contemporary accounts suggest the number might be exaggerated. His killings were often fueled by personal vendettas and disputes, and he was known for his quick temper and deadly accuracy. Despite his criminal activities, Hardin managed to evade capture for many years, moving from state to state and using various aliases. In 1877, Hardin's luck ran out when he was finally captured by Texas Rangers in Florida. He was tried and convicted of killing Deputy Sheriff Charles Webb and sentenced to 25 years in prison. While incarcerated, Hardin studied law and wrote his autobiography, which offers a fascinating, albeit biased, glimpse into his life and the mindset of a notorious outlaw. After serving 16 years of his sentence, Hardin was released in 1894. He attempted to settle into a more lawful life by practicing law in Gonzales County, Texas, but his past continued to haunt him. Hardin's life came to a violent end on August 19, 1895, in El Paso, Texas. While playing dice in the Acme Saloon, he was shot in the back of the head by John Selman Sr., a local lawman and rival. Selman's act of shooting Hardin from behind contrasted sharply with Hardin's confrontational and often direct style of violence, adding a layer of irony to his demise. The motivations behind Selman's actions remain speculative. Some suggest it was a result of personal animosity, while others believe it was due to Hardin's involvement in local disputes or simply an opportunistic act by Selman. Regardless of the motive, Hardin's death marked the end of an era characterized by lawlessness and the rugged individualism of the Old West. John Wesley Hardin's life and death epitomize the tumultuous and often violent nature of the American frontier. His story, filled with dramatic twists and turns, continues to be a poignant reminder of the complex interplay between law and lawlessness during one of the most storied periods in American history.